Hi, in this chapter, we will be learning about heat energy transfers. So, what is heat energy transfer? So, in this chapter, we are going to learn about all the methods in which heat can be transferred from one area to another area. As we can see here, heat is always transferred or moved from a warmer place to a cooler place, where it can be transferred from a more warmer place to a cooler place. Okay, now we will look into the first method where heat will be transferred through conduction. Conduction. So always remember conduction takes place when there is contact. Contact. Conduction takes place when there is contact. Okay, heat is a thermal energy and it can be transferred from one place to another place by conduction. So, as we know, metals are good conductors of heat, but non-metals and gases are poor conductors. Poor conductors are also called as insulators. As I've said earlier, heat energy is conducted from the hot end of an object to the cold end. But since direct contact is possible in solid, liquid, and gases, conduction can take place in all of them. However, solids are more tightly bound than the other form of metals, hence conduction is better in solid state compared to the other form. So now let's look into how conduction can take place. When you heat one end of a metal, you can see the particles will gain heat energy. Heat energy and then will give them a lot of energy. For example, when a particle gains energy, the particle will tend to vibrate faster. This gives them kinetic energy. And as you can see here, the kinetic energy can be transferred from one particle to another particle, which also causes the heat to be transferred from one particle to the another particle. And this will continue until all the particles receive the same amount of heat. This moves through the whole structure of the metal. And now let's learn about the another method of heat transfer, which is convection. So convection is a little different from conduction. So now let's look into the details of convection. Okay, in convection, the heat energy can be carried away by the particles of the material changing position. So as you can see here, changing position. Particles can only change their position if they move. So this is So now let's look into how convection can take place. So as we know, liquid and gases they will expand as they are heated. So we know when they expand, they become less dense than the liquid or gas in a colder areas. So the hotter object expands and becomes less dense than the colder object. So the less dense particles will rise up. As we can see here, this is a chemical which will change color when they are heated. It's colorless in color and when they are heated, it becomes colored. So you can see here, the water particles at this area is heated by the flame. And as these particles are heated, it becomes less dense than the other particles in the colder area. So these particles will rise up into the colder area and the denser cold particles will fall into the warm area. So in this way, convection current, we call it as a convection current that transferred heat from place to place. So the hotter particles will rise up and the colder particles will move down as they are denser than the hotter particles. And this will continue until all the particles in this liquid receives the same amount of energy. So as we can see here, the next method is radiation. So in radiation, the heat energy is transferred through electromagnetic waves. They don't need any particles in any state of matter Because no particles are involved, radiation can even work through the vacuum of space. And this is how we are receiving the sunlight even though it is 150 million kilometers away from the Earth. And now let's look into this image. In this image, different types of heat energy transfers are shown. So as you see, there are magnetic waves, so the heat can be transferred through magnetic waves through a method that is called as radiation. And in liquid, this arrow shows the convection current. So the heat is transferred through convection. And when someone touches a conductor, heat conductor, touches in contact, so it causes the heat energy to be transferred from the source to the conductor to the holder through conduction. And now let's try to answer this question. The lizard loses thermal heat energy and gains thermal heat energy. Complete the labels to show energy transfers taking place. Choose the following words. We have conduction, convection, and radiation. So now let's look into the first one. Can you see the magnetic waves? So the moment you see the magnetic waves and without contact, we know the thermal energy is lost from the surface of skin by radiation. Looking into the second one, the thermal energy lost by the air movement. When there is movement, so the heat energy is transferred through convection. Yes. And the third one, the thermal energy gained from the rock. Can you see they are in contact? So this should be from conduction. And now let's answer another question. Complete the sentences using words from the list. We can feel the heat of the sun because of, yes, radiation. The metals transfer thermal heat energy using the process of metal. Metals are solid, so it is transferred through the process of conduction. And I hope you enjoyed learning about the heat energy transfers. That's all for today. Thank you.